Hey friends! We are going to teach you Lesson 20, Session 2 today. Ideally, if you started doing math on Tuesday, March 17th, this lesson is for Wednesday, March 18th. If it's not quite working that way, that's fine. It's flexible. Just we're all going to do our best to get done what we can get done. Okay, friends?
And if you noticed, if you did do yesterday's and you needed a ruler and you did not have one at home, please just try your best to find something like a quarter that makes an inch that we talked about yesterday, or you can just wait and we'll do that when we come back.
Maybe someone in your house has a tape measure and you can use the inches on that. It may not look exactly like a ruler. Like I said, we're going to just be as flexible as we can be. Okay, so let's get on with our lesson. Here is our first slide. So we're going to talk about how we can compare strategies. We discussed yesterday how we know that we can measure in 2 units of measurement. We can use an inch ruler or we can use a centimeter ruler.
And a lot of times they're both on the ruler at the same time.
They're just on different sides.
Mm-hmm.
So if we had 2 pieces of yarn, there's a blue piece and a yellow piece on this slide. In order to measure this with an inch ruler, the big rule is that you must always line up one end of the yarn or the string with the 0 line. So no matter what, you never start at 1 or 2. You should always start right here at the 0 to be as accurate as possible. Then to figure out how long something is, you stretch it out nice and straight and you look at where it would end on the inch ruler. So for example, if you're looking just at this blue piece of yarn right here, it ends right at the 4-inch mark. So we would say that this blue piece of yarn is 4 inches. So we can also use a centimeter ruler to measure. When we use a centimeter ruler, it works exactly the same way as an inch ruler. You're still going to pull those strings nice and straight, and then you're going to start by lining them up with the 0 mark on the ruler. So Mrs. Walker, you want to talk about the yellow piece of string?
So if we look at the yellow piece of string, it's a little bit longer than the blue piece. But if we look at how stretched out it is, and we go to the very end, we can see that it's 11 centimeters long.
So one of the questions was, which piece of string is 4 inches and which piece of string is 11 centimeters? So now we know the answer. We know that the blue piece of string is 4 inches and the gold piece of string is 11 centimeters. So question number 1 says, if we're going to connect it, how do we know what units a ruler shows? So Mrs. Walker, will you grab a ruler one more time? Okay, friends, I'm going to just show you an up-close picture of a ruler again. So what we want to know when we are using a ruler is that, it's upside down, there we go. If you look very closely, right here, it actually says the word inch. And so that is how we know that this ruler up here is an inch ruler. Now this one doesn't say centimeters though, just says millimeters. Okay, this one actually doesn't say centimeters, but the opposite side of an inch ruler is always going to be a centimeter ruler as far as I know. Do you agree, Mrs. Walker?
Right, I agree.
So these littler marks are called millimeters. We're not going to learn about those right now, but I do want you to know that from the 0 to the 1 equals 1 centimeter. And so this side of the ruler that's opposite the inch side is the centimeter side of the ruler. So if we go back to our pages and we see this, how do you know what units a ruler shows? Well, the word inches or centimeters Mrs. Croft has to spell the word right, is usually shown on a ruler.
Depending on which one you have.
To tell you the units. Also, let's not forget what we learned yesterday. Your little finger is about a centimeter. This is a short way, cm, of writing centimeter.
Remember abbreviations.
Across. And a quarter is about an inch across. So if worse came to worse and your ruler was not labeled, you could always just use your pinky finger, your little finger, to see. And if it's about the size of your little finger, then you can say to yourself inside your brain, hey, this is probably a centimeter ruler.
Now just take a minute and tell the person next to you or the person that's watching it or your shoe. Remember, we can always teach our shoe. Which one is bigger? Is the inch bigger or is the centimeter bigger, and why? So just take a minute and think about that. Okay, if you're not quite done, it's okay. You can pause us and start when you're done. All right, let's move on.
Do we want to discuss what the answer is?
We can.
Which one is bigger?
Well, the way I thought about it was, here's my little finger and a quarter. So which one is bigger? And so to me, I said the quarter's bigger, so that means that the inches have to be bigger.
Ooh, I love the way you thought about that. I was thinking about the two pieces of string, and I was thinking that even though the gold string was bigger, 11 centimeters is a whole lot more than 4 inches, and they were still almost the same size. So 4 inches, an inch must be bigger than a centimeter if it's close to 11 centimeters.
Very
nice. That's what I thought, but
yes, good.
We all think different ways.
That's right.
Okay, so which color yarn is 4 inches long? Well, if we're going to go back, which one did we decide was 4 inches long? Mrs. Walker?
The blue string.
The blue string. Which color yarn then was 11 centimeters long?
The yellow or gold string.
All right. Now, how do you use a ruler to measure the length of the yarn in inches or centimeters? So what is the process? What did I say we always have to do? We're going to stop and pause, and I want you to turn and talk to someone or your shoe and tell them, what is the most important thing when you lay it out? What do you have to do? Okay, coming back, what is it?
The most important thing is always starting at 0.
Yes, always line it up and start at 0. All right, let's keep going.
Skip that.
We're going to skip that today since we don't have much class discussion. All right, let's apply our thinking to a new problem. Ty made the top ruler. Lynn made the bottom ruler. We need to circle the ruler that is made correctly, and then we need to explain how we know. Well, Mrs. Walker, what do you notice?
Well, I notice that there's this really big gap between 2 and 3.
Oh.
And then a small gap between 3 and 4.
Oh my gosh, so what does that tell us?
That ruler is not made correctly.
So let's look at the bottom ruler. Do these marks on this ruler look pretty evenly spaced?
They do to me.
So remember yesterday we talked about measuring with paper clips, right? And we said if you're going to measure with paper clips, the paper clips all have to be the same size.
Right.
So would the ruler on top work if the spaces are not all the same size? The answer is no, it would not work. So if we were going to circle this, I would circle this one right here. If I was going to explain my thinking, I would say the bottom ruler is made correctly because it is evenly spaced.
Yep.
And that's just nice and simple.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we would use a ruler. If we were at school, we would use a ruler to determine how long this paintbrush is. We don't have a way to really do that over the computer. So we're going to just roll with the punches here. We're going to skip it. But if you were at home, you would line up, and you were measuring, you would line up the tip of the bristles with the 0, and then stop and see on the inches side where this brush ended. And that's how you would tell us this paintbrush is 5 inches long. At school, I'd say capiche, and you'd say kaposh. All right, we're going to stop. We're going to say, Tony says the crayon is 8 centimeters long. Explain what Tony did wrong. Then find the correct length of the crayon. So,
talk again real quick.
Talk really quick with your shoe or someone in the room and tell them what Tony did wrong.
Mrs. Croft, I know.
I think I know too.
They didn't start at 0.
She blurted. Mrs. Walker, you stole someone else's thinking.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to have to take a number 1 off her desk. Okay, so Tony did not line up the crayon to the number 1 mark. Oh no, to the number 0 mark. I'm getting ahead of myself. He started at the number 1 mark. This is not correct. And then if you were at school, we would have you find the correct length of the crayon. However, we're not at school, unfortunately. So I'm going to ask you to just use your best thinking and imagine if we moved this crayon right here over 1 inch, we would just be moving the end over 1 inch too. So, or no, centimeters too. So how many centimeters would this crayon end up being, Mrs. Walker?
7 centimeters.
7 centimeters. I'm sorry, I was calling it inches and I was using the wrong unit of measurement. Shame on me. So it would be 7 centimeters long. That is your math lesson for today. If we were going to take a look at our practice today, you are going to practice measuring in inches and centimeters. Make sure that you're paying attention to the unit of measurement that you are using.
And always label.
And always label. Remember, you can use that cm for centimeters or IN abbreviation for inches. You will need to use a ruler, but again, if you do not have one, it is okay. Pinkies for centimeters, quarters if you can find one, for inches, or just do your very best, okay, friends?
Looks pretty simple.
Yeah, you should fly through it, honestly. It's easy peasy.
Lemon squeeze.
All right, friends. Have a good day. We will talk to you later. Bye.